Just need a minute. Taking a little break here. I'll be right with you. It's amazing how this shit connects with everything he just put on. Just amazing. Give me about 5 minutes. I'll be right back. Just a little bit too strong. Alrighty. Got a couple people in here, alright. Hey now. What's up? Thanks for coming over. Set this shit up here right quick. It's amazing. When that guy on the video said something about bonds, junk bonds, I was like, oh my god. Right here. In the last chapter I did earlier tonight, talking about the financial rip-offs. There you go. ADL and the Opium War, how it all connected with what do you call it? Nicaragua and the Iran thing in the 80s. Fucking swindlers. It's amazing how all this shit connects. All right, let me go cut that off. Fucking shit rips, man. I grew up on that shit. Alright, let's see. What state? What state am I? Let's check the chat here. The after party, that's right. How many are the dislikes? They just pour in. I don't give a fuck. You know why? Because even dislikes make a fucking video get noticed. I don't give a fuck. Fuck them. They can eat a dick up till they hiccup. You know what I'm saying? Fuck them. If I let that shit get to me, I would never try to do anything. How many fucking dislikes I got? Let me see. How many? I don't even know where to see it. Fuck it. Keep disliking. Bring it on. I don't give a fuck. So let's see. What's up, Ray? Damon, thanks for coming, brother. I think there's a little work to be done amongst the races too. I'm very honest about that shit too. I've had my problems, believe me. As a matter of fact, I mentioned that shit last night about how I feel about race. So if you want to bring that up. How I be this evening? Oh, that's for Tammy T. My bad. I want to get in your convo. But, yeah, let me address the Handsome Truth thing. So, when I first discovered Handsome Truth, I'm like, I'm cautious about everybody when I first, see somebody. So, I'm looking into them, and I brought up these other guys. I said, well, let me see what his detractors are saying. So, I bring up a couple videos, and the guy says, oh, they're scam artists and this and that. And he was hooked up with another guy who was doing a website. I can't recall exactly what it was, but the guy got a website in Handsome Truth's name and was running it. Some crazy shit. I don't know what the fuck it was. Handsome Truth addressed it on his stream one time. So this guy was accusing Handsome Truth of, through that website, running people's credit cards and stealing from them. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that. So on the other side, I was commenting. I never said anything bad about Handsome Truth, but I wasn't sure either. I was like, I don't know. That sounds kind of fucking shady. So, but I've seen him for enough time that I feel confident that he's doing the right thing. And I'm glad that he can shout me up. That really helps, and I really appreciate that. I'm cautious at first, but I'm that type that I'm fucking crazy loyal. And I'm fucking dedicated. That's just my nature. So, let's see. Just for keeping it going. Gillette Sharp, how are you? It's good to see. I'm trying to make this a regular thing, a before party or an after party. And I did a stream earlier tonight. I didn't know he was going to get on. So we overlapped for about a half an hour or so. That's alright. But I don't want to stream while he's streaming. You know what I mean? Either before or after. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Let's see here. So, let's do a quick recap. Last chapter talked about all these connections. You'll have to bring the video up if you want to see everything. But there are these players who got wrapped up with American Express, Lehman Brothers, Kuhn Loeb and Company, Shearson Lehman, all that shit. And they're running drug money and cleaning it up through the banks. Any surprise there? No. There's connections with the Medellin cartel, and everywhere you look, there's a Jew behind every fucking aspect of it. Switzerland banks, Italian banks, Mossad. Mossad is behind a lot of this shit. And the ADL, what prompted me to do all this is the ADL, all I wanted to do, look, I'm a new guy around the GDL, I want to help the GDL, I want to do what I can, so I put up some videos reading, what the fuck was it? Henry Ford. Henry Ford's The International Jew. So I read the first chapter of Henry Ford's International Jew and I posted it up. Put it in a playlist, started a new playlist, so every successive video is going to put in that playlist, and the fucking thing got put in a limited state. So I said, these motherfuckers. And it's the ADL who is doing the policing, the ADL and the SPLC. I haven't even started up on the SPLC, but I'm going to. So I said, these motherfuckers. Second video, I tried doing something different. I didn't put Jew in the title. I put international globalist. So I went fucking Alex Jones. Didn't work. Didn't work. Next one, the third video, I said, well, let me try not putting it in the same playlist. And it worked. Lo and behold, for a couple days, it was up. People could comment. I was building. You know, people were subscribing. I'm like, cool, man. Maybe I can really get this information out there. Then, 2-3 days later, show it. Luckily, they're not giving me strikes, and they're not fucking shutting down my channel yet. I've had this channel for 10.5 years, and I haven't even been active on it for the last 3 or 4 years. You can check out all my bullshit previous to this, but there's nothing really serious. It's all bullshit. So I leave up all the old videos that may even be embarrassing to me, because I like to keep it there as a reminder to me of my evolution as a person and as my thought process. So they pissed me off, this fucking ADL. So I was like, all right, I got something for you. I'm going to read this whole fucking book online and put you out there. And the funny part is so far, they haven't showed these videos. So you're going to show my video. You're going to put it into a limited state when I'm talking about the international Jew, Rockefeller. But when I bring up shit about you, the ADL, you let it go. It's only a matter of time, though. You know how that works. So, anyway, that last video, now they were talking about all kinds of bonds and shit. If you remember, those farmers were saying junk bonds are destroying our fucking farms. Well, lo and behold, look at the fucking chapter name of my next chapter. Boom. The ADL and the junk bond bandits rip off America. All right, let's get it started. Convicted insider trader Michael Milken. Look at that. Look at that fucking face. Would you trust him? Would you shake his hand and sign a contract with that motherfucker? No. No. Convicted insider trader Michael Milken, who has close ADL ties, used a network of corporate raiders to launder money through his junk bond schemes. I hope they mention the farms in this. That would be so fucking appropriate. All right, here we go. In the autumn of 1991, attorney Alan Dershowitz, already a fucking trigger name, who had been hired by junk bond king Michael Milken to get him out of jail, oh, I didn't know about that, purchased an ad in the New York Times to denounce a book on Milken as anti-Semitic. Lo and behold, what do you know? The old ancient trick. You're anti-Semitic. The book, Den of Thieves, was by James B. Stewart, the front page editor of the Wall Street Journal, and it detailed the massive and consistent criminality of Milken's operation at Drexel Burnham. So you can't make the mistake of pointing out the racism and crimes of the ADL or these Jews who work with the ADL, because that makes you an anti-Semite, you see. In his book, Stewart cut through the myth of Milken as a financial genius, showing instead that much of his success was due to illegal acts which preyed upon both those who invested their money with Drexel's brokers, like the farmers, and on the U.S. economy as a whole. The attempt by Dershowitz to dismiss Milken's criminality by alleging that he was the victim of an anti-Semitic cabal was vintage ADL. Alright guys, we hear this word all the time in these circles, so I'm going to share with you. Cabal is a secret political clique or faction. Let's see, hold on. I've got to bring that up. Give me a sec. Let's see. Dictionary, where are you? There you are. Okay. Cabal. A secret political clique or faction. A clique is like a clique, what we call a clique. People together in one little group. Okay, cabal, you're going to hear that a fucking 1,000 times in this milieu that we find ourselves in. So this anti-Semitic cabal was vintage ADL. in much the same way that the League cut its teeth defending Lower East Side gangsters against a crackdown by New York City Police Commissioner Theodore Bingham by libeling the commissioner as an unrepentant anti-Semitic Semite, Dershowitz and other ADL mouthpieces branded Milken's accusers with the same devastating label. The only reason that label is devastating, the only reason that label has any power is because we give it power. It's like racist. If we go, oh my God, I'm not anti-Semitic, then it has power. Oh my God, I'm not a racist, I know 3 black people, then it has power. If you say, fuck you, I don't care what you call me an anti-Semite, I'm still gonna fucking talk. You're not gonna shut me the fuck up. That's what it's designed to do. And when you don't give it power, it loses its power. You guys hear about what happened to Natalie Portman, the actress? Oh my God. She got some kind of fucking award in Israel for being like the greatest Jew of all time or something. But much credit to her. She told the people in Israel, I'm not showing up to accept that award because you're over there fucking killing Palestinians for no reason, for no cause, shooting little kids in the head and shit. And she said, fuck you and your award. Guess what they called her? An anti-Semite. She's Jewish. The woman is Jewish. It has finally officially jumped the shark. Anti-Semite. It's fucking meaningless now. Alright, so the Dershowitz defense of Milken let slip a very important secret. Milken and his Wall Street allies had replaced the pinstripe-suited and machine-gun-toting gangsters of Prohibition as the lions of organized crime. It was Meyer Lansky's dream come true to insulate his organized crime successors as quote-unquote untouchables by putting them in the driver's seat of the U.S. economy. And the ADL was on hand every step along the way. All right, let's check the chat here. What's up? Hey, what's up, Handsome Truth? All right. Hey, thanks for the shout out, man. Every little bit helps. I'm going to keep on this shit every fucking night. Like I was saying before in the chat, I might be a little apprehensive at first. I don't just go and trust anybody. But once I'm on board, I'm fanatically loyal and I'm fanatically dedicated. That's just the way I am. And I appreciate the shout out. Guys, if you want to catch up to what's been said before, just bring it up on my channel. So far, it hasn't been showed, this stuff. You will not believe the connections this shit has. It's just fucking breathtaking. And the way I do it, the way my style is I like to read a paragraph or 2 or 3 and then go back and talk about it so we can absorb what's said. If there are any words we don't know, you know, I go to my little dictionary and I define them, and then I go back to the paragraph and put it into context of what we're doing here. So that's how I do it. Let's check this chat. We're all together. We're family, brother. We are now, my man. We are now. Absolutely. Let's see what we got here. And thanks again for coming, guys. This is fucking great. Because what it does is it gives me incentive to keep going. You guys are like fuel for me. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. I see 17 up and 7 down. That's okay. That's par for the course. As soon as I start my streams, they start thumbing. Hey, they're doing me justice. Like I said, even thumbs down get videos noticed. I see 19 up, 7 down. Okay. That's dope. Know the words, baby. Damn right. Like I say, words are your ammunition in life. How are you supposed to, you know, make yourself known in life if you don't fucking learn words, okay? They're the arrows in your quiver, and you need ammunition in life. Matter of fact, real quick, I showed you guys this on another chat. I'm a fucking super nerd. This is my little collection. When I get words I don't understand, I'll write them down on something. I jot them down, and I make index cards. Right here. This is it right here. Words that I don't understand, evocative, something that evokes. Look, I write everything down. I get down with the, what do you call it, the etymology. That's just how I do. I got a little bit of time on my hands. That's when I go through and I study my cards. I write new ones. And I make lists. When I'm not writing up the cards, I'm making lists of words that I want to do. So that's how I get down. And I encourage you guys to do the same. I'm old school. I could make it online and do it on a text edit or something like that, but I feel that writing it down, I'm 46 years old, so I'm stuck in the old ways. And in some ways, the old ways are better. When you write down a word, it lodges it in your brain. You use it in a sentence 3 times and you own that word for fucking life. Okay? It's the same with a name. You use a guy's name in a sentence 3 times and you'll always put the face with the name. That's the way it works for me. So let's jump back in the chat. I mean, not the chat, the text here. All right. So that devastating label we were talking about of anti-Semitism, if we don't give it power, it ceases to have power. So it was Meyer Lansky's dream come true to insulate his organized crime successors as untouchables by putting them in the driver's seat of the U.S. economy. And that's how they take people over. That's how they fucking lean on people. And the ADL was on hand every step along the way. Next part. Recycling narco dollars. Everybody's heard of the petrodollars from oil. Well, there's a hidden economy, and they're called narco dollars from drug money. When Milken, fresh out of the Wharton School of Economics at the University of Pennsylvania, first presented his theories on the profitability of high-yield bonds, can you feel me, farmers? Also known as junk bonds, to skeptical traders at Drexel Burnham in the early 1970s, he found few takers. Real quick, just a point. These farmers, they don't know anything about Wall Street, okay? They know how to grow fucking food and truck it out so that we can all eat. They're the people that fucking get this country food every day. So they work hard and they make their money, and people come and say, hey, why don't you invest in this? Yes, I got a good investment for you. And they put their money in these bonds because they're honest and faithful people and they trust. And then the manipulation happens. And it's devastating when this shit comes unwind. When it unwinds, people just get crushed. So that's happened again and again and again in the history of this country. And now farming, these farmers that we saw in that video, they're all out of business now. They're either dead or they're fucking in another line of work. Now you've got Monsanto and subsidized corn and all these big agribusiness. They have completely taken it over, and it's a devastating story. It's sad. It's really sad. Recycling narco dollars. When Milken, fresh out of the Wharton School of Economics at the University of PA, first presented his theories on the profitability of high-yield bonds, also known as junk bonds, to skeptical traders at Drexel Burnham in the early 1970s, he found few takers. But his media pumped it up for him. After the dual shocks of Nixon's August 1971 order severing the remaining link between the dollar and gold, that's when we got off the gold standard for good, Kissinger's 1973 oil hoax, Wall Street was looking for stability, and the major investment firms were quite conservative in their investments. The 1976 election of Jimmy Carter, however, initiated a process of economic degeneration that led to many changes in how Wall Street conducted its business. Jimmy Carter did a lot of deregulation of the economy, and that allowed a lot of fucking finagling. So let's see. Jimmy Carter, I'll repeat that. 1976 election of Jimmy Carter, however, initiated a process of economic degradation or degeneration that led to many changes in how Wall Street conducted its business, changes which cleared the way for Milken and his allies to unleash their financial experiments on the nation. Already, the stage had been set by the mid-1970s. Oh, did I read that wrong? Pardon. Already the stage had been set by the mid-1970s Kissinger-engineered oil hoax, which led to skyrocketing petroleum prices and a flood of what came to be known as petrodollars, mentioned earlier, into the American banking system. The petrodollars of the 70s paved the way for the narco-dollar invasion of the 1980s. And who was mentioned there? Kissinger. Kissinger, if you're a veteran, what did Kissinger say about the veterans that fight for our country? He said, "You are stupid, dumb animals to be used for foreign policy." Right? Presidents come and go, 4 years, 8 years, 4 years, 8 years, but who stays? The people around the president, the advisors, the Henry Kissingers, the ones that worked directly for David Rockefeller at that time. They can't trust some president coming in 4 or 8 years with all the information. No, no, no. They're the ones that are the permanent deep state, I guess you could say. The appointment of Paul Volcker, and I'm embarrassed to admit he's from South Jersey like me. Please don't let him be a reflection on South Jersey. The appointment of Paul Volcker as a chairman of the Federal Reserve Board in 1979 was a watershed in the process of opening the U.S. economy for wholesale looting. Volcker raised interest rates to the highest sustained levels in U.S. history. The interest rates right now are around 1 point something percent. In the 80s, they were at 20 fucking percent. These high interest rates squeezed bank profits even further as the cost of borrowing money from the Fed went through the roof. The only solution to this crisis, most bankers concluded, was to deregulate the banking system and thereby transform it into the newest safe haven for the illegal cash. And the money question, the banking question, is the number fucking one linchpin of the Jewish machinery that is banking today. Number one. Number fucking one. If I was a dictator for a day and they said, "All right, gooooy, you get one move and one move only," I would yank that fucking money power right from underneath them so fast they'd land right on their ass. I would take their debt system and I would replace it with something like either something backed by labor, or probably better yet, something like Lincoln's greenbacks, where it's debt-free, it's issued by the government doesn't need to borrow from anybody, they issue debt-free notes and pay their bills with these debt-free notes, and the debt-free notes would circulate forever. I could go deeper into the banking thing, but I'm going to save it for another stream, because it's really involved, and I want to get down to this text here. Let's see, where am I? The only solution to this crisis, I'll go back, most bankers concluded, was to deregulate the banking system and thereby transform it into the newest safe haven for illegal cash. By the time Congress passed the Garn-St. Germain Act in 1982, the U.S. banking system had been completely opened to foreign flight capital, and banks and savings and loan institutions, S&Ls, were given the green light for the first time ever to invest directly in real estate, junk bonds, and many other speculative ventures which had been previously prohibited. So they opened up the gates, and they had a new playground opened up to them. And that's probably how these farmers got hurt, as a matter of fact. One big advocate of total deregulation was then Vice President George Bush, a real Shabbos goy, who was the chairman of President Reagan's Blue Ribbon Task Force on Deregulation. Mr. Bush, at the time, I will add, was, in 1976, he was the head of the CIA. CIA, these motherfuckers. Under his and Volcker's direction, most antitrust regulation was struck down, thus allowing the huge mergers and takeovers of the 1980s to occur with funds raised by Milken's networks. All right, let's check the chat. What do we got going on here? Elliot Osegueda, baby. Let's see what we got going. Handsome Truth, we got a little inside. Boy, you guys are chatting it up, baby. I love it. John Perkins worked with the Jill C.I. John Perkins was the guy that wrote Economic Hitman. Isn't that right? Did you send yourself a message? Let's see here. Message retracted. Man, that must have been a bad one. No doubt. I appreciate your support. Look up Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Yes, I was right. That is a... Guys, that's a great reference right here. Who put that out there? Illuminati Socrates. My man Socrates is on it. That right there, I'm sure you could bring up videos of that. Matter of fact, it's worth my time to bring up that link right now. Great recommendation. Great recommendation. Alrighty, let's see here. Oh, look at that. We got the audio book on here. That's what's up. Okay. If you guys are like me, I read a lot of books, quote unquote, read a lot of books when I'm at work, and I can just listen. It's a passive way to read a book. It's great. All right, here's the Economic Hitman book. This is what it's about, guys. Sharing all this shit. Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Let's see. Here's a short docu. Shut the fuck up. Let's see here. There you are. There's another hit for you. By the way, I showed a little short 9-10 minute video earlier. Anybody heard of Elizabeth McKinney and how she named the Jew? Anybody familiar with what she did? Anybody there? Check out Bob Matthews and William Luther Pierce. Yep. William Luther Pierce, man. That guy was taking no shorts. He was no joke, that guy. Anybody familiar with what Elizabeth McKinney, she was a congresswoman from Georgia. Anybody familiar with what she did? Yeah, what did I say? Did I say Elizabeth? Cynthia McKinney, that's correct. Let me see here. Guys, put 1 if you want to hear the 9-minute video. 2 if you want me to keep on. Guys, this is actually too important. I gotta share this. 2. We got 2 1s and a 2. Gillette Sharp says, nah, continue. Alright. Look, I gotta share this with you. It's too fucking important. Alright, here we are.
There is tremendous pressure inside the political process to make sure that the voters stay aligned inside either.
Let me skip a little bit until she gets
pay particular attention to any area outside of the black community that I represented that was in need.
Basically, what she's saying here, what I'm skipping, is she's saying that she got into Congress as a congresswoman. She wanted to represent her district. All right? She had all good intentions. She was not part of the clique. But what happened was they came to her and said, you got to sign a pledge that you're going to support Israel. She said, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm here to support Georgia, not Israel. Are you kidding me? They said, all right, well, we're just going to have to take away your fund money if you don't sign the pledge. So every congressperson in our Congress, every senator has signed this pledge or they don't get any money. And it costs a lot of money to run. So guys, if this is loud enough, let me know by hitting a 1. All right? If it's not loud enough, hit 2 if we need more volume.
First-handedly and also frontally was assaulted by the presence of the pro-Israel lobby to such an extent.
Physically assaulted?
Well, politically assaulted.
Okay.
To such an extent that my father had to ask the question publicly, what does Stone Mountain, Georgia have to do with Israel? What I was doing was servicing the needs of my constituents. And I was not allowed to do that because I did not toe the line on U.S. policy for Israel.
What line is that they wanted? Were you told directly that you had to toe a line, or explain that to me?
Well, every candidate for Congress at that time,
Listen up, guys,
had a pledge. They were given a pledge to sign. And I was new on the scene. And so the pledge had Jerusalem as the capital city, the military superiority of Israel.
American Congress people have to sign this pledge.
Yes, you sign the pledge. If you don't sign the pledge, you don't get money. So, for example,
damn,
it was almost like water torture for me.
Unbelievable.
My parents observed this. I would get a
unbelievable.
call, and the person on the other end of the phone would say, I want to do a fundraiser for you. And then we would get into the planning. I would get really excited because, of course, you have to have money in order to run a campaign. And then...
So first they say, I got a nice little fundraiser for you, goy. And they let you get all excited. You start planning the fundraiser. And then right before the fundraiser, they say, oh, by the way, have you signed the pledge? Let me know. Have you signed the pledge? Did you sign the pledge? Do you love Israel? Will you get on your knees and say, I love Israel? Listen to this.
2 weeks, 3 weeks into the planning, they would say, did you sign the pledge? And then I would say, no, I didn't sign the pledge. And then my fundraiser would go kaput.
Go ahead.
I made it public. This probably nobody had said anything about it.
Go ahead, girl.
But I made it public, and then, you know, the excuse was, well, you know, those were just overzealous
Yeah.
advocates for Israel.
Yeah.
So then the tactic changed. And but this is what is done for 535 members of the United States Congress. 100 senators, 435 members of the House of Representatives have to now write a paragraph, which basically says the same thing.
Oh my
So it's not a
God.
pledge, but it's a paragraph, and you post it, and you know there are these forums you have to go to at the synagogues or whatever, and then
Motherfuckers.
if you don't perform appropriately, then you don't get money to run your campaign. The problem is that it requires an awful lot of money to run a campaign. And whether it's a woman's organization, an environmental organization, people can read about this on the internet if they're interested. If you go to thomas.loc.gov, that is the official United States Congress website. And if you put in the name Gus Savage, because Gus Savage was a black member of Congress who was targeted by the pro-Israel lobby. And he had the foresight to use his position as an incumbent in the House of Representatives to put his experience on the congressional record. For the entire existence of the United States Congress now, people will be able to access his experience. And what he wrote was that it was the Garden Club of New Jersey that gave
not Jersey.
his opponent $5,000.
Oh, come on, man. Why Jersey? Why do we always get this fucking rap? Dang it.
But it wasn't really the Garden Club of New Jersey. It was the activists who were associated with AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Well, the district that I initially represented in Congress, I represented so many districts because redistricting was a tool that was used to target me, to eliminate me from the Congress. But the district that initially sent me there was a district that was comprised of rural blacks in the Black Belt of Georgia. These are people who have not had access to equal opportunity at all. The district was challenged in the Supreme Court. And with the assistance of the Anti-Defamation League, the district was dismantled. It generally takes about $250,000 minimum to take a case from filing up to the Supreme Court. And the people who filed the lawsuit to dismantle, they challenged my ability to represent the people of that particular district.
Who were these people?
Well, actually, interestingly, there were 5 white citizens, one of whom had been the white male candidate that I defeated in the Democratic primary. And they were aided and abetted by the Anti-Defamation League. And when the case arrived at the Supreme Court, interestingly, on the same day as an environmental case, the Spotted Owl case, the Supreme Court decided that the habitat
it's almost over, guys.
Owl should be protected, but that the black voters in that district could have no protection.
Damn.
And so the district was dismantled. Well, I have, because of the notoriety about me telling my story, and then, of course, the public positions that I've taken supporting the human rights aspirations, the legitimate rights and the aspirations of the Palestinian people, I have a target on my forehead.
Wow.
And that then means that every means that is available to the pro-Israel lobby will be utilized to make sure that I do not ever occupy a position of authority. Now, fortunately for me, there is a very large peace community that is interested in change. And they would like to have a tested, experienced voice representing them in that very hall of Congress so that they can at least have their voices heard, even if they can't change the policy. But
wow.
Being there is the first step to having the policy changed.
Isn't that amazing? Is that fucking amazing or what? Jesus Christ. It's deep. It's deep. So now she said it's not a pledge now anymore, but you have to write up a paragraph that pledges your loyalty and fealty to fucking Israel. Are you fucking kidding me? Let's see something right quick. Fealty. Loyalty. Sworn loyalty. Fealty. They're making you sign a fucking paragraph that says, I am loyal to Israel. I thought the original guy said there would be no titles of nobility and no connections to other countries. Some fucked up shit. Alright, so let's get back to this. You guys know about Jim Trafficant too, right? Jim Trafficant. He was based as fuck. He was the real deal. Cynthia McKinney was the real deal. Alright, let's see. Where are we? Oh, let's show Gary Webb. You guys know who Gary Webb was? Gary Webb was a man who shot himself, committed suicide by shooting himself twice in the fucking head. That's him. That's his autopsy photo. Alright? Does that look like where you shoot yourself when you fucking commit suicide? Alright, let me show you something. I'm gonna show you something, Goyas. Goyas and Goyals. Dark Alliance. Gary Webb. Gary Webb. This right here chronicles the drug running, and it ties right into this ugly truth about the ADL. Chronicles the drug running in the Iran-Contra shit. The running cocaine from Iran into the fucking hood. And back in the day, like I said in my earlier stream, I used to, the homies, the boys would tell me, yo, man, motherfucking government running shit in my hood, man. We ain't got no fucking heroin clinic. We don't have any heroin labs. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You fucking government running shit. Man, go ahead with that bullshit. Nah, man, we trying to tell you. Right here. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Okay? This book right here tells it all. And this is what happens to you when you tell it all. That right there. This is a man who worked for the San Jose Mercury News. Alright? He was writing a series of articles called Dark Alliance. And then he came out with the book. That man right there was another true patriot. He wrote what the fuck he saw. He did real journalism, and he died like Michael Hastings. You guys heard of Michael Hastings? When he's driving and all of a sudden his car goes boom? Okay. This is what we get when we tell the truth. One of these days I'll read Dark Alliance on here. It's limitless what we can do with this, guys. I have a limitless amount of information to read. And everybody's good at different things, right? Like my forte is the nerd shit. I like the books. I like to find out shit. But I'm also going to organize in real life when we're done. When we get enough people together, we're going to be bombarding senators, congress people, whoever we can, governors, whatever we want. Because in 2016, there's a supplement called Kratom, or Kratom. I like to say Kratom. The DEA was going to ban it. We got together. We started the American Kratom Association. Not me personally, but it was started. We funded it. And then we started lobbying Congress. And guess what? We marched on D.C. I was down there in D.C. on fucking camera. We got media attention because we did a march. And this was real life activism. And we stopped the DEA from scheduling Kratom as a number one, what do they call it? Schedule 1. They were trying to make it a Schedule 1. This is a tree. It's just a fucking tree in nature. What it was is the pharmaceutical industry didn't like it because it was stepping on their toes. They want to sell you and your family their poison so that we can fucking be destroyed. My family was destroyed by pharmaceuticals. Unfortunately, my mother, when her mother died, she got wrapped up in pharmaceuticals. And she ended up on a fucking list of drugs that is terrible. I don't even want to talk about it really, but I want to share with you guys this. And Kratom is a natural drug. A natural, you could call it a drug, but it's a natural supplement that people can use to get off of other drugs. Don't have to use the poisons. It's great for pain. It's great for euphoria. It's fucking amazing. And they wanted to fucking stop it because big pharma can't, they're not allowed to patent a living thing. So, if Americans could legally get Kratom, they don't need your poison. And so what they want to do is outlaw the plant, like marijuana, and then they synthesize the main alkaloid, which is mitragina, and then what they do is they make their drug and they patent it. Meanwhile, you can't get the plant because it's been fucking outlawed, and you have to take their fucking poison. We beat them. We fucking beat them. We're still fighting them to this day. I'm still giving money to the AKA. My friend has a business online, and he sells Kratom. As just one of many of the things that he sells. It's legal herbal shop. Anyway, I'm not here to push anything. But the point is we defeated them. Activism. I'm not here to just sit here on a webcam. Truth talked about that tonight. Is that we got to have a plan. We got to get off this YouTube because it's not going to last forever. But until we have to get off, we're going to utilize their fucking power against them. And we can actually have power in this country. Don't be defeated before you start. Don't buy into the hype that we are powerless and this is just the way it is. Bullshit. Bullshit. Our Congress people will never do anything unless we pressure them. Anyway, that's enough rant right now. So, let's see where we are. We're talking about the SNLs, okay? So, Carter came in and deregulated banking and let them play. They gave them a nice little playground where they can rip people off, okay? So now they can do speculative ventures that had previously been prohibited. So one big advocate of total deregulation was Mr. Vice President George Bush, that douchebag. So then Volcker came into the Federal Reserve, and he raised interest rates to about 20%, made borrowing almost impossible. And antitrust legislation got struck down under Volcker's direction. Volcker was what Ben Bernanke was, what Janet Yellen was, and that is the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So in the 80s, Volcker was the fucking evil bastard. So, milking and junk bonds. With Volcker at the Fed running interference for the drug bankers, and with deregulators in the executive branch striking down protective regulations in conjunction with their congressional allies, the doors were opened for bringing the offshore drug profits back into the United States. And it was Michael Milken and his domination over the junk bond market which provided the mechanism by which the funds would be laundered. Junk bonds offered an ideal way to repatriate drug money and other illicit funds. From his promotion of junk bonds in the mid-1970s, Milken built up a network of quote-unquote corporate raiders around him, many of whom had organized crime connections. They had excess dollars, money which they used initially to buy real estate, restaurants, casinos, and other cash-based businesses ideally suited for washing money. Gotta get it clean, baby! However, as the drug trade flourished, these traditional means of laundering money became inadequate. They were making so much money that even these cash businesses didn't cover it. It's shades of Scarface. You remember when they were coming into the bank and they got all these fucking bags and they're bringing the cash in, and the bank guy is watching them go by. He's like, holy shit. That's what was going on in real life. Okay, they needed bigger, more expensive targets. Again, it was Milken who provided these targets. During a brainstorming session with the brass at Drexel Burnham, Milken won over CEO Fred Joseph to the idea of using junk bonds to fund corporate takeovers. The same raiders who had been purchasing junk bonds could use their money to take over large corporations, especially corporations with a large cash flow, such as food, beverage, and tobacco companies. Milken would sell junk bonds to part of his network of raiders who would use their illicit funds to purchase the junk bonds. Look, that's how the trick worked. He would sell junk bonds to part of his network of raiders who would use their illicit funds to purchase the junk bonds. And thus, the money was clean. The money raised from the sale of the junk bonds would provide the funds for another raider to buy the company. Then the new owner could mix in, i.e. launder, further drug revenues with the cash flow of his newly purchased company. So that's how the scam worked. One assistant U.S. attorney who has been building cases against money laundering for years said that this process makes it very difficult to trace the individual or initial funds, rather. Quote unquote, to start with, he said, quote, these transactions, the takeovers, are very difficult to follow, but when you start using companies with heavy cash flows which are ideal for money laundering, it becomes almost impossible, unquote. They got 1,000,001 scams, believe me. U.S. tax laws also favored use of junk bond sales for takeovers. Under provisions of the corporate tax code, interest paid on debt is deductible, while dividends received from stock holdings are not. The tax laws favor those raiders who take over firms through generating huge debt responsibilities, while penalizing those who act to increase profits through investments which increase productivity. So, there was a financial incentive to go for more debt and less businesses that actually produced real products. Huge tax liabilities were thus evaded through the debt-backed takeovers financed through junk bonds. I know this is all a little technical and all, but hang with me now. In addition to his network of raiders who to a man enjoyed long-term relationships with the ADL, Milken's operation could not have succeeded without the aid of the finest lawyers dirty money could buy. While there were many firms which offered their help, 3 stand out, and all 3 are deep into the ADL circuit. Okay, before we say that, I want to say, hey, ADL, I want to give you a shout out. Fuck you, okay? You want to fucking put my shit in limited state? I'm going to fucking expose the shit out of you. This shit's all in the public domain. As a matter of fact, here you go. Here's a fucking link for the text that I'm reading from. If you guys want to go peruse it yourself, alright? These fuckers. These are the motherfuckers that are going to tell us what we can and can't say? These fucking scumbags? These criminals? These gangsters? Oh, we got to put the people hip to these fuckers. Again, it was Milken who provided these targets. Oh, I've already read that side. Sorry. So, who were the 3 that were deep in the ADL circuit? Paul, Whaaas, Rifkind, Wharton, and Garrison. That sounds like the old joke with the lawyer firm. What is it? Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe? Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. You know we do. Now, this was a lawyer's firm, I guess, by the names. Founder Seymour Rifkind served as an advisor to one of Milken's leading raiders, Ronald Perelman. Rifkind was a counsel to the Golding family. That sounds a lot like, Golding? Oh, Goldie. Do we know a Goldie? Oh, what's her name? At Rabbi Media? Faith Golding? Maybe it's Golding. Who knows? Rifkind was counsel to the Golding family, which Perelman married into. The grandfather of Perelman's first wife, Faith Golding. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Oh my God. Oh my God. Faith Golding. Oh my God, that just gave me a chill. The grandfather of Perelman's first wife, Faith Golding, was a founder of the ADL's Sterling National Bank. Rifkind joined the board of Perelman's company, McAndrew and Forbes, which he used as a vehicle to take over Pantry Pride and Revlon, 2 of the country's largest consumer goods outfits. Rifkind was also on the board of Revlon, even while it was being targeted by Perelman. Rifkind protege Arthur Lemon would serve on Milken's defense team following his 1989 indictment for insider trading. Lemon joined the Milken team fresh from a stint as chief counsel to the House of Representatives Iran-Contra panel. I'm sure he was doing his due diligence in investigating that, right, for the American people, in which capacity he helped cover up the ADL's pivotal role in that covert criminal program. Coming back again to the book I was talking about, which is, what's his name? My man right here. Gary Webb. It all ties together. This shit all ties together. You can't make it up. So you see how it works. The one guy, Perelman, is doing this takeover of Revlon, and meanwhile his buddy Rifkind is sitting on the fucking board of directors. Okay? That's how they get you. They attack from all sides. And in the meantime, the one guy is on the fucking panel of the Iran-Contra hearing, the congressional panel that's supposed to be investigating. All dirty. All dirty. These guys were running drugs out of Nicaragua and Vietnam, and it just goes on and on. The shit goes deep. The next one. Skaden, Arps, Slate, Meager, and Flom. Say that 10 times fast. Senior partner Joseph Flom has been at the center of every major takeover during the 1970s and 1980s. According to Connie Bruck, author of Predator's Ball and a leading expert on takeovers, Flom and Martin Lipton of Wachtel Lipton, quote, virtually had created the takeover business in the 70s, unquote. Who was that other guy that was a big takeover guy? Jewish guy, everybody sung his praises. I can't think now, but there's a million of them. Anyone looking for a takeover target hired either Flom or Lipton. Those firms which became targets would hire the other one for quote-unquote protection. Wow. According to one prosecutor who worked on the Wall Street fraud cases in the late 1980s, quote, these two law firms were just like the insurance business run by the mob. If you don't get insurance by hiring one of them, you might get targeted, unquote. Mob lawyer and former ADL national chairman Kenneth Bialkin joined Skadden Arps in 1988. Wachtell Lipton. All right, let's check the chat real quick. What do we got going on? Good night, Damon. Taking it down. I appreciate you coming out. You can always catch up with this tomorrow. Bring it up. Corporate raiders, they invented the term. Yeah. Oh, I know who I was thinking of. Carl Icahn. He was made into an icon back in the day. Oh, Carl Icahn, this incredible takeover, hostile takeover guy. He's one of them. If I was to smash a Jewess, she'd be the one. Damon says, with her fake face and her fake tits and her fake personality. Not my style. Give me a real woman. The GDL is greater than the ADL. Damn, yeah, I slammed heroin and meth for 2 years. That sucks, bro. That sucks. I'm glad you're clean. Okay, nothing really crazy going on. Handsome Truth still hanging. That's what's up. Appreciate the support, man. Milken's Monsters. Once George Bush's task force eliminated the regulatory measures which had protected American enterprises and corporations from sharks and looters, and with teams of lawyers in place to defend them, it was time for Milken to unleash his raiders. During the decade of the 1980s, more than $1.5 trillion was diverted into corporate takeovers and leveraged buyouts. That is $1,500 billion. Each billion being 1,000 million. Oh my God. That's a lot of do-re mi. Of this amount, more than $60 billion went directly into the pockets of the investment bankers, the deal makers, i.e. the raiders, and their attorneys. Henry Kravis, one of the leading deal makers of the 1980s, exploited his close ADL ties to raise money for the takeover antics of his firm, Kohlberg, Kravis, and Roberts, the KKK? No, the KKR. Once Drexel Burnham decided to use junk bonds to finance takeovers, the Kravis-Milken connection was a natural. Now, I know this is all dry and this is all kind of boring, but believe me, it's explosive if you just give it a chance. Milken and his raider networks provided billions of dollars to help finance KKR's takeovers. Henry Kravis's KKR was created in 1976 with $120,000. By 1990, it had borrowed $58 billion from banks, S&L's Savings and Loans, insurance companies, and pension funds to take over more than 35 companies. I don't know who's in the chat that remembers the S&L crisis at the end of the 1980s, savings and loan crisis. It was a serious deal, and now we know why it happened. While cousins Henry Kravis and George Roberts are now worth more than $500 million each, the firms they took over have been loaded up with debt, threatening the investments made by S&L's, insurance companies, and pension funds. So if you're one of these farmers whose investment manager told you to invest in these bonds and they inflated this bubble and that bubble popped, what happened to those farmers? You know it. They got destroyed. They got eviscerated, and a lifetime of work was undone in an instant. Is it any wonder they got strapped up and were like ready to fucking take people out? Is it any wonder there was so much hate and anger in their sermons and their preaching? Is it any wonder that there was a receptive audience to so much hate and anger? It's not a fucking surprise to me, because these sharks swam in and they took a monster bite out of him, and it's fucking disgraceful. There should be a death penalty for these cocksuckers, but they hide behind their fucking their corporations, and they're not held personally liable. Only thing that happens is the corporation goes down, but they've already sold their shares long ago, and they're already out and on to the next one by the time the bubble pops, because they know when the bubble pops. To pay this debt, the firms were asset stripped. So the real fucking assets, the real estate from these companies was sold just to pay the debt on fucking money that never existed in the first place. And they were forced to close down factories, throwing hundreds of thousands of people onto unemployment lines. Yes, and farms were sold, and people were put out of work. People were fucking destitute. It's amazing what they did to the American people, time and again. The people don't get hip. They never fucking learn. Many of these deals resulted in bankruptcies, forcing the federal government to cover the losses when the bankrupted firm was taken over by borrowing from a federally insured bank, S&L, or pension fund. So what happens when the corporations can't make it? Guess what? Uncle Sam steps in and pays the bill. That means you and I. Not only are our fellow countrymen put out of work and made destitute, but then you and I got to pick up the pieces. It's not right. It's a fucking disgrace. We should be fired up about this shit. While the new management created by the takeover was dismantling the company to pay the debt generated to buy it, the raiders came away with huge profits. Milken alone received a $550 million bonus from Drexel in 1986, and he doled out another $150 million in bonuses to his team. Working hand in hand with Milken in the looting of America were a collection of figures with close links to both organized crime and the ADL. Oh, what's that? You mean the ADL that's currently policing YouTube and telling us what morality is? Oh, you mean the ADL preaching to us what hate speech is? This Jewish invented term that doesn't exist? There is only free speech. There is no hate speech. There are no hate crimes. Meanwhile, these are the ones devastating Americans. Collectively, they were given the name Milken's Monsters by one of their most notorious members, Meshulam Riklis. Riklis, the front man for the ADL's Minneapolis Mafia, had been the middleman in the Vesco Bialkin takeover of Investors Overseas Service, or the IOS. The Monsters were Milken's first followers, those who saw in his promotion of junk bonds the means by which they could launder funds while simultaneously generating the leverage to take over major corporations which would further facilitate their laundering. It just fed off of itself. Many of them began by purchasing insurance companies, which in turn became major purchasers of junk bonds. So they would purchase insurance companies, have the insurance companies buy the junk bonds, profit off the junk bonds, and then leave everybody holding the fucking bag. In the early stages of Milken's ascendancy, the Monsters routinely passed funds back and forth among themselves, buying issues of junk bonds offered by each other's insurance companies. This first group of Monsters included Carl Lindner. Real quick. So, all of them, they split up. One guy would buy this company, this guy would buy this company, this guy would buy this company. And so, one company would buy the other company's junk bonds, this company would buy the other company's junk bonds, and the American people said, oh, these are going well. The price is going up, the dividends and the yields coming from these bonds is going up, and the American people said, must be a good deal. And then when the people bought all these bonds, they fucking pulled the rug out. That's how they do. Carl Lindner, who took over Cincinnati's President Bank in 1966. He then acquired Great American, a property and casualty insurance company, which operated as a subsidiary of the financial holding company American Financial Corp. Notice how all these names just happen to have a Jewish sound to them. I wonder, is that a coincidence? Must be a coincidence. 1974, when Lindner was just beginning his relationship with Milken, he was under investigation by the SEC, or the Securities and Exchange Commission, which, believe me, is just lined with scam artists, for violating anti-fraud and anti-manipulation regulations. That's another scam. The SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, is set there to try to police and enforce that these banks and corporations run by the rules that they created. But the SEC is staffed with people who worked for those corporations or will work for those corporations after they get out. And so it's one big clusterfuck, a sausage club. Everybody's stroking each other, and the American people are the ones that get ripped off. It's a game, and they've played the game better than any people in the history of Earth. We need to learn these tricks and play the game even better. Let's see here. Carl Lindner. In 1974, when Lindner was just beginning his relationship with Milken, he was under investigation by the SEC for violating anti-fraud and anti-manipulation regulations. We have already encountered Lindner as the United States, or the United Brands owner, who joined with Edmund Safra in staking out the biggest claims in Amex. That's the American Express Corporation, which I covered in the video before this. And who's one of the biggest stockholders? Oh, Warren Buffett, America's Mr. Bucolic, harmless country boy. He's just a regular good old boy, right? Uh-huh. Mr. fucking I own the Washington Post. Anyway. Lindner and his quote-unquote purple gang partner, Max Fisher, another Jewish name, literally took over United Brands over the dead body of CEO Eli Black, who mysteriously fell or jumped out of a window of the Pan Am building in New York City while in the midst of fighting the Lindner grab. So, how many times have we heard that move? They either hang themselves or they jump out of a window. Black's son, Leon Black, was placated by a lucrative job as one of Milken's top allies as a strategic planner. Now let's take a quick look at the word placated. Doesn't that mean to play to someone's egos? To pacify. See, I need to add that to my list. To make someone less angry or hostile. All right, let's reread that sentence and with the knowledge of what that means now. Black's son, Leon Black, was placated or made less angry or hostile by appeasing them by a lucrative job, so they bought him off as one of Milken's top allies as a strategic planner at Drexel. It was Leon Black who in 1979 helped Milken convince Drexel CEO Fred Joseph that Drexel should use its clout from junk bonds to back the raiders in takeovers. Black said that the raiders are the, quote, robber barons of the future, ... That means something was left out there. These are the guys who are building empires, unquote. So they killed this guy's father, this fucking Leon Black, who I've never heard of until just now. They kill his father, and he goes and gives in and lets them buy him off. Is his daddy rolling in the grave, or is it me? I'm not saying what I would do in that situation, because I don't know until I'm in the situation, but you would think he would want to honor his father by at least not dealing with them, or at best going after him like his dad did. But no, he rolled over like a good goooooy. He rolled over and he took the payout. Sometimes guys, if you can't beat them, they join them. Lindner soon became Drexel's biggest client in both trading and corporate finance. He was represented by Peter Fishbein. That's just a horrible sounding name. Peter Fishbein of Kai Scholer, a law firm which serves as official outside counsel to the ADL's Sterling Bank. Fishbein has been an ADL officer since 1970. You see how there's this incestuous relationship between all these lawyers and all these accountants and all these Wall Street bankers. It's sickening. It's incestuous, for lack of a better term. In 1992, federal regulators banned Fishbein from ever having any dealings with banks or any other financial institutions as the result of a probe that linked him and the law firm to a cover-up of SNL looting by Lincoln Savings and Loans Charles Keating. The next guy, Saul Steinberg. Hey, Saul. Hey, Saul. Oh, man, this gets deep. Saul Steinberg, who started a computer leasing business, Leasco, in 1961, shortly after graduation from college. He was backed up in his early takeovers by Sanford Weil, a leader of Wall Street's quote-unquote new crowd, who was named ADL's Man of the Year in 1981. Boy, how many people do you got to kill financially or otherwise to get the ADL's Man of the Year? These corrupt sons of bitches. You know what? If I had 600,000 subscribers like fucking Molyneux, I would fucking get us together and I would fucking lobby for getting rid of the ADL. And I would not quit until our Congress had to get rid of them. I mean, I don't understand why these YouTubers have so many fucking subscribers and yet they don't do anything in real life. That should be the primary goal of doing this. Not just sharing information, but getting people together to work together in real life. That's my goal. And if I end up hanging at the end of a rope, then that's a compliment to me because that means I had an impact. I don't give a fuck. I have to die anyway in this world. I might as well die doing something I believed in instead of rotting away in some fucking bed with some fucking nursing home that doesn't care about me. That's the way I'd rather fucking die. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fucking sick of all this shit. I'm not even playing. With Wheel's backing, Steinberg took over Reliance Insurance Company, which he used to make a play for New York's Chemical Bank in 1969. After taking over Reliance, Steinberg brought in Bilkins law firm Wilkie, Farr, and Gallagher to represent it. I know this is a clusterfuck of names and connections, but we're almost there, guys. We're getting close here. Meshulam Rickless, who spent much of the 1970s under investigation by the SEC and U.S. Customs Service narcotics officials. Rickless used Rapid American, a conglomerate which included International Playtex, ooh, sexy, Shenley Industries, Lerner Shops, and RKO/Stanley Warner Theaters to finance his raids. Look at all the corporations. Look at all the banks. Look at all the people. It just keeps coming round and round and round she goes. Shortly after Rickless took Rapid American private, Lindner and Steinberg followed suit with American Financial and Reliance, respectively. The Rickless Family Foundation has contributed heavily to the ADL, according to IRS documents. Lawrence Tisch, whose insurance company CNA was a frequent investor in junk bonds issued by Milken. His Tisch Foundation has provided funds for the ADL, all connected to the ADL. It's like a central hub connecting all this criminality. For example, Carl Lindner, through American Financial, was the second largest shareholder in Steinberg's Reliance and in Tisch's Lowe's Corporation, as well as a major shareholder in Rickless's Rapid American. When Milken needed to raise funds, any one of these four could be counted on for quick bucks. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat. This is our last break. I'm going to go hit the head real quick. and we'll finish up. There are only 2 pages left. All right, let's see what we got. Herman Salza, do your own channel. Absolutely. I encourage all you guys to put up content of some kind. Even if it's dropping 6 million links, do it. Do it, do it, do it. The more the better. All right? That's what happened to me. I had a YouTube channel for 10 years and I haven't been putting up any content. And then a little bit of a fire was lit under my ass. And then the ADL fucked with me. And now I'm all aflame. If you know what I'm saying. I won't quit. I will not fucking quit. Yo, Bad Goy, yes. Good luck tomorrow is right. I can't wait to see that video. Some real activism in the real world. That's why I like the way you think, Bad Goy. When you made an appearance on the HT9 show, I was like, listen to this guy. He gets it. And it amazes me because I didn't wake up until I was at least 36 years old. And here's all these young people. Of course, I didn't have the benefit of the internet and all that. And as soon as I got a computer in 2007, within 1 year, I was red-pilled. So, I'm impressed with all you younger guys who are out there. That's what we got to do, is we got to get a lot of younger people on board with this, all right? So, spread the love. It's never too early to start getting people in the movement. Red pill them slowly. You know, give them just a little taste so they come back for a bite. You know what I mean? Never happen if you don't accomplish the first. It's like a bow and arrow, focusing on one target and boom, it's the Jews. That's what happened to me. That's pretty much my evolution. I started specifically, aside from the Israel thing, which the guy from Egypt red-pilled me on. I've told that story. But I asked a single question. Where does money come from? What is this paper in my pocket? Where does it come from? Who issues it? How does it get around? What the fuck? And the rabbit hole was opened. And I haven't seen the light of day since. And every angle I go, at every turn, behind the door, behind the curtain, the man pulling the levers is usually a little crooked back man about this tall with a little fucking nose. I hate to be like that. I hate to be insulting, but it's true. It's always a Jew. Now, I know I have a good Jewish friend of mine. He's half a Jew. I've known him for 33 years. But he doesn't own fucking J.P. Morgan. Like, is what I like to say. He doesn't. Matter of fact, he hates the same people I hate. So, he's closer to a Nazi than he is a Jew, personally. But don't tell him I told you. Okay. Let's see here. I know you guys don't like the word Nazi, but I'm just using it as a shorthand for National Socialist. I'm so sorry to hear that. What's going on there in the chat? Damon is still in here. Okay, I thought you were going to sleep. See, once we hook you, you can't get enough. Send them to Antarctica. All right, guys, I'm going to take 2 seconds to hit the head, and I will be right back. I'm going to drop this on you real quick. Shut the fuck up. Be right back.
We economic hitmen really have been the ones responsible for creating this first truly global empire. And we work many different ways. But perhaps the most common is that we will identify a country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sister organizations. But the money never actually goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our big corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, industrial parks, ports, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, in addition to our corporations, but really don't help the majority of the people at all. However, those people, the whole country is left holding a huge debt. It's such a big debt they can't repay it, and that's part of the plan. that they can't repay it. And so at some point, we economic hitmen go back to them and say, listen, you lost a lot of money, can't pay your debts, so sell your oil real cheap to our oil companies. Allow us to build a military base in your country, or send troops in support of ours to someplace in the world like Iraq, or vote with us on the next UN vote, to have their electric utility company privatized and their water and sewage system privatized and sold to U.S. corporations or other multinational corporations. So there was that whole mushrooming thing, and it's so typical of the way the IMF and the World Bank work. They put a country in debt, it's such a big debt it can't pay it, and then you offer to refinance that debt and pay even more interest. And you demand this quid pro quo, which you call a conditionality or good governance, which means basically that they've got to sell off their resources, including many of their social services, their utility companies, their school systems, sometimes their penal
I'm
systems,
back.
Their insurance systems, to foreign corporations.
All right, guys, I am back. Let's finish this out. Thanks for joining me. I gotta thank you again and again and again. I'm so appreciative of the support. I've been getting nothing but love from you guys. And believe me, I'm never going to let you down. I'm going to keep at this shit. I'm going to keep at it. If we got to go to another platform, that's what the fuck I will do. All right? And what we're going to do is I'll either go on before HT9 or after HT9, so we're not stepping on each other's toes. Don't forget to get in there and hit the bell, subscribe, hit the bell, because I'm going to be trying to do this every fucking night. Once in a while, I'll take a break, recharge the old batteries, but remember to get in there, subscribe, and hit the bell, because before I stream, I like to put the notification on about an hour, maybe an hour and a half ahead of time, so you guys know when I'm coming on. In the event HT9 goes long, I just simply put the time later, and as soon as the stream ends, I get right on. That's all. Take a little break in between so people can go take a leak and do what they got to do. And then we get down to it. All right, guys. Thank you so much once again. Oh, by the way, is Chris Weinert in here? Let me see. No, he's not. That's okay. I got a message from him earlier. I think he's watching previous videos. If he's anything like me, which I do get the idea that, I'm not saying I'm as smart as him. He's a fucking a knowledge machine. You can see he's got so much knowledge in his mind that it takes him a little while to put things together. He's gives you a little this and a little of that, but he's an extremely knowledgeable guy. And if he's anything like me, I would never just jump into the fourth video. I would start at the beginning and watch all the previous ones until I catch up, because I got to go chronologically. I don't just jump around. You're welcome, Ray. I really appreciate it. Ray's been there since the beginning. Ray Peterson. Let me check this chat. Yeah, this is fucking awesome. I'm so psyched. This is it's limitless what we could do if we really put our minds together and do something in real life. All right. Let's finish it out. Let's see, where am I? Gary Webb. Alright, here we go. Alright, gooies. Let's finish it out. The Monsters Unleashed. And by the way, this is the type of material, not to rag on you guys, that if you're too involved in the chat, this is the type of material you're not really going to absorb. Of course, you can come back again and listen to it and skip my little rants in between and absorb it that way. You're welcome, Elliot. Elliot's been there from the beginning, too. But here's the link to the book. So if you guys want to catch up, because when you're in the chat, it's almost impossible to listen and process what's being said and be in the chat at the same time. So that's the link. You can catch up. You can watch my old videos and catch right on up. All right. Let's see. Monsters Unleashed. There were others from the same organized crime networks who joined the monsters. Victor Posner, another Jewish-sounding name, I'm sure it's a coincidence, who operates out of rundown offices in Miami Beach, made a fortune in real estate. You the man, bro. Hell, thank you, man. I appreciate it. We got Victor Posner. He operates out of rundown offices in Miami Beach. He made a fortune in real estate in the 1930s and 40s. Like many of the old-timers in the Milken ADL stable, he too was reputed to have been a financial partner of Meyer Lansky. These names. How many times you've seen videos or Hollywood productions of the Italian gangsters? Hey, we're going to rub them out. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They're a small part of the mafia. The real mafia is the Jewish mafia. Yeah, you'll see a cameo of Bugsy Siegel here, a little bit of that there, little Meyer Lansky. But they're not going to drop this fucking knowledge on you like I'm dropping it on you from this book. And by the way, this book, we don't know who wrote it. It was a bunch of people from this ERI or some shit like that. Interesting. By the way, one of the previous videos I did, this has connections. The ADL has connections to a sliver of Freemasonry called B'nai B'rith. I know you guys have heard that before. B'nai B'rith goes all the way back to the 1860s, and they were involved in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, who issued, I'm not saying that he was a fucking hero. Abe Lincoln was a mixed up man. He did some good, he did some bad. But he did issue greenbacks, and that is kryptonite to the bankers. And he fucking paid the price for it. They Gary Webbed him. Right? This is what happened to him. Right? That's what happened to him. He got Gary Webbed. Okay. Here we go. The Monsters Unleashed. So, he was a financial partner of Meyer Lansky, this guy, Victor Posner. He was an old-timer, and he had connections with Meyer Lansky, who, like Meshulam Riklis, engaged in creative financing, quote-unquote, before hooking up with Milken, was forced to sign a consent decree with the SEC over allegations that he misused pension funds from Sharon Steel, a firm he looted in the 1970s. Ronald Perelman, another of Milken's raiders, has deep ties to the ADL. Perelman married Faith Golding, whose grandfather founded Sterling National Bank. McAndrews and Forbes was the vehicle used by Perelman to take over Pantry Pride with financing from Milken. He then used Pantry Pride to take over Revlon, financed again by Milken and advised by Shaden Arp's Joe Flum. So when let's say you start a successful business and it's private at first. When you go public, then you end up with these fuckers on your board of directors. So you have, in the corporate setup, you've got trustees, you got the board of directors, and then you have the corporate setup, CEO and all that, who actually run the business. The trustees represent the owners, the real owners. The trustees tell the board of directors what they want. The board of directors issue policy for the corporate officers, the CEOs. And so it forms a triangle. A triangle? Oh, that's odd. Okay, with the same network of advisors and some inside political help, Perelman was able to take advantage of the S&L asset giveaway, known as the Southwest Plan, in which he received the assets of 6 shut-down Texas S&Ls for a nominal fee, while receiving a $900 million tax credit to cut his liabilities from the Revlon takeover. If you guys are like me, my head is spinning with all this information right now. When Perelman divorced Golding, who would divorce Faith Golding? His lawyer was mob attorney Roy Cohn. Oh my God, isn't he connected to Trump? Guys, hit me up in the chat. Roy Cohn. Who's the guy that's always on Alex Jones? That fucking creepy guy with the white hair. Come on, guys. Hook me up. I got a brain fart. Stone. Stone. That's right. What's his name? What's the fucking name? Roger Stone. Thank you, Damon. Roger Stone worked for Roy Cohn back in the day. And now we're finding out a little bit about Roy Cohn. Everything fucking interconnects. It drives me insane. All right, let's go. This is exciting. Roy Cohn, yeah, he was gay. Up until he died of AIDS in the late 1980s, Cohn maintained intimate behind-the-scenes ties to the ADL. So what's that mean? What does that mean? That means that Alex Jones is about 2 degrees of separation away from the ADL. Roger Stone, Roy Cohn, ADL. Is it coming together now? Is it coming together now? Oh my God, is it coming together? Up until he died of AIDS in the late 1980s, Cohn maintained intimate behind-the-scenes ties to the ADL. According to internal ADL documents, Cohn was never placed on the league's directorate out of fear that the ADL would lose the financial backing of many prominent ex-communists who still detested Cohn for his antics during the 1950s Joe McCarthy Red Purges. I don't know if you guys know about Joe McCarthy and the Red Purge. They made him into this crazy fucker that was imagining shit, conspiracy theorist, blah, blah, blah. It's because the communists were overwhelmingly Jewish, and you can't expose communist Jews in our government in Hollywood. You can expose communists, but not Jewish communists. To me, that's redundant. Jewish communists. It's the same fucking thing. It's the Jews who came up with communism. It doesn't matter, communism, Zionism, capitalism. It's Judaism. It's fucking Judaism. It always comes back to the same thing, and we make a mistake when we start getting sidetracked and saying, well, it's only Zionism. Well, it's only communism. No. It's the whole ball of wax. The entire structure is Jewish. Handsome Truth is right about that. Okay. Another of Milken's raiders was Nelson Peltz, who bankrupted his family's frozen food business and was personally close to bankruptcy when he obtained Milken's backing to take a 9.5% share of Sterling Bancorp in 1980. Next, Milken helped Peltz and partner Peter May with a takeover of Triangle Industries, which they then used to leverage a $456 million bid for National Can, financed completely by junk bond sales by Milken. In these cases, and hundreds more, Milken provided the financing by which the raiders took over corporate America. With almost unlimited funds, Milken bragged to an associate, "We're going to tee up GM, Ford, and IBM and make them cringe." I bet you he was rubbing his hands when he said that. Milken's confidence came from the knowledge that behind all his investment wizardry stood a pool of nearly $6.25 trillion. Oh my God. What could you do with $6.25 trillion? Oh my God. Anything you want. The gross profits of the international dope trade from 1978 to 1990. Are you kidding me? That's 12 years of fucking drug money? 6.25 trillion? Oh, no wonder they don't want to legalize drugs. No wonder. And let's not forget the pharmaceutical drugs they make money on too, these assholes. Milken never owned up to his sources of capital. At the peak of his power, he would simply dash off, quote-unquote, highly confident letters, unquote, informing takeover targets that he would be able to generate whatever amount of liquidity would be needed to buy out their companies. And because drug money was all cash, it was liquid. It wasn't tied up in some investment or a home that needed to first be sold before you had the liquidity to use. No, it was ready to go. Cash money. Milken's other source of confidence was his deep connection to the ADL. Now do you guys start to see the power behind the ADL? Can you start to see this fucking dark force we're dealing with that wants to fucking silence us? Milken believed that by pouring money into the League's coffers, he would forever be untouchable. In 1987, for example, the Milken Family Fund gave $28,000 to the ADL Foundation Christian Rescuers Project, the ADL Foundation / Christian Rescuers Project, and $10,250 to the ADL Foundation, in addition to a grant to the ADL of $344,000. Oh, look at that. Christian Rescuers Project, controlled by Jews. How interesting. The same foundation gave the ADL $29,000 in 1990. So if the ADL is giving money to these Christian organizations, and he tells these Christian organizations that you have to support Israel, and you have to tell your flock, you people, your churchgoers, that you must support Israel, and you pull up some fucking obscure passage in the Bible that somehow ostensibly seems to corroborate that idea to support Israel, you can see why these fucking preachers and priests can't be trusted, and they're bought off too. The Capital Foundation, also under Milken's control, approved $1.245 million to the ADL for future payment in the year ending November 30th, 1989. And next tomorrow we're going to be doing colluding with terrorists. Look at all those white pointy hats there. I wonder if there's any connection with the KKK and the AKK, the ADL. My God, does the rabbit hole go deep. Well, what do you guys think? Let's see who's still with us. 30. Okay. We maintained 30 strong throughout the whole time, and that's good. I'm happy with that. I'm fucking ecstatic with that. If one person was watching, I'd be happy. You guys, I really appreciate you guys, your time, and the support, all the love. I feel the love. You guys want to leave off with one video? It's about 9 minutes, and it's Jim Trafficant ragging on Sean Hannity's show about Jews and how they control the United States, Israel. You guys want to hear that? Yeah, it will grow, bad boy. Give me a 1 if you want to see that quick video and end it. And give me a 2 if you had enough of me. Okay, Bad Goy says yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, let's do it. What the fuck, right? Jim Trafficant. I've got his book too. Well, first he was on, what's her name? Greta Van Susteren. You guys ever heard of Greta Van Fleet? That new group out there sounds just like Zeppelin, my favorite group of all time. Fucking Greta Van Fleet. They rip. I like them. Greta Van Suspect. Jim Trafficant. Ah, there he is. Alright, guys.
Now, former Congressman James Trafficant goes on the record in his first interview since his release from prison. Now, 8 days ago, he walked out of a federal prison after serving a 7-year sentence for bribery and racketeering.
And watch how they always try to paint him as a criminal, as a scumbag. He was set up because he was exposing Israel and their lies. I love this fucking guy. Him and Cynthia McKinney should get together and make babies. But he's dead now, so that's not going to happen. So watch how she tries to paint him as an anti-Semite and a criminal.
Earlier, the former Democratic congressman went on the record about life in prison, whether he's planning a political comeback, and so much more. Nice to see you, sir.
I'm glad to be here. Good to see you again. But to tell you the truth, Greta, I'm glad to be anywhere.
Besides prison, for one.
I come from 7 years up at Rochester. I want to say hello to Dre Maddox and Freddie McKnight and all those guys up there. A lot of good guys I met. They're sort of like family in a way. It's a different experience.
So you made friends in prison?
Absolutely. You know, Nelson Mandela made a statement. He said, if you really want to know the truth about a nation, you got to go through their prisons. And believe me, he's right. And I learned an awful lot about America going through the prisons.
Before we get to prison and all about America, I have to ask you the headline question. Ready?
Don't say it.
I'm going to ask
because I'm going to get personal.
I'm going to ask
Get
it right
at me, get at me, Greta.
Are you going to run for Congress again?
I don't know yet. There's a lot of people that want me to run for Congress. You know, I was a #1 target of the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee and the #1 target of the Justice Department since 1983, being the only American to ever defeat him pro se in the RICO trial. And I have big enemies, but I have some grudges, and I want to go at them. I want to go at them big time, Greta. So I have to see, first of all, if I'm viable, and second of all, if the people would support me. They come in here and they fractured this district. They broke it up, certainly to make it tougher. I think they also felt they gave me a life sentence that I would never survive in prison. Then they came to me and said if I said I was guilty, I might even get a pardon, and I told them to shove the pardon up their derriere sideways. So here I am, and if I do run, get your best hold, because I will be running downhill with my tails flapping in the wing wide open.
What are the odds?
Guys, let me know how the volume is. 1 for good, 2 for too low, 3 for too high.
You're going to win. I mean, not you're going to win. What are the odds you're going to run?
The odds, and I've saved all comment for your show because #1, I think you have a great show. #2, I think you're fair, and that's not trying to patronize you.
Okay.
I know you're going to ask some tough
Thank
questions,
you.
and I'm going to embarrass you before it's over. But I would say at this point it's 50-50, and I have a lot of people that are encouraging me to run because there's so many disenfranchised people, so many, especially in this area. And one of the concerns I have is I come home to is we have Delphi here, the salaried workers, that were completely cut out and lost their pension benefits. It's going to be almost a $250 million impact to this general community. And when you look nationally, Dayton, Ohio is going to be hit real hard. The state of Ohio is going to get hit with about $1.5 billion in lost money, economic generation, because of this decision. And I feel, and you know my record, if we could take care of people all over the world, damn it, take care of those Delphi salaried workers, and I expect it to be done. I mean, I'm on your show here asking you and asking Mayor to look at this plight, because we have here 9,500 workers. They're going to lose their pension benefits. They're going to have to pay for their hospitalization benefits. It's an immediate out-of-cost pocket of $50 million with a contributing factor of a multiplication of 2 for the general metropolitan area of $250 million impact on an economy that lost steel mills years ago and has been left behind.
All right. Grudges.
Can't have it.
Can't have it. I said, you said you had some grudges. Who are your grudges against?
Well, #1, and my wife constantly reminds me to tone down. I brought that guy back from Israel, John Deminick. It was my Freedom of Information Act which proved not only that he was innocent, but who Ivan really was.
Guys, I gotta stop there for just a sec. Ivan Deminick was Deminick was the guy that Israel was trying to say was one of the fucking guys in the Holocaust. They were about to kill him. This guy, Jim Trafficant, stepped up. He fucking slapped his hairpiece on and he went right to Israel and he proved that this guy was not who they said, and they were about to kill him. And they've hated him ever since. That was one of the biggest things of why they wanted to fucking frame him up. He did 7 years in prison for nothing. He defended himself successfully the first time, but the second time they got him. And that's why he's pissed. There was a fire under his ass. They killed him too, I'm pretty sure.
The case was so sensitive, members of Congress would say, Jim, I love you, but please, don't involve me. I sent my evidence to the 6th Circuit Court in Cincinnati. They wouldn't accept it. I finally sent it over to Israel, to the Israeli Supreme Court, and they called me over there, and I went with the family. I did a live interview, satellite, with Brian Gumbel, and I said, when they put this innocent man to death, they're going to lose $15 to $20 billion every year they get from the American taxpayers. And Brian Gumbel says, what are you talking about? They only get $3 billion. And I said, Brian, that's only the foreign aid bill. Look at all the other trade compacts, economic assistance, military assistance. I'm saying this to you right now. Israel gets approximately $15 billion a year from the American taxpayers. That $15 billion is $30,000 for every man, woman, and child. And people in my district are losing their pension benefits. So I was targeted big time.
By the Israelis?
The Israeli Supreme Court looked at the evidence, could not refute it. And it came from the Justice Department, Greta. And they said, take him home. I brought him home, and he was bombarded ever since.
Home to Ohio.
Now he's in Germany fighting for his life. Now let me say this. Prosecutor Moskowitz of the OSI Office of the United States Justice Department suborned perjury with Otto Horn. The documents clearly state who Ivan the Terrible was, a man named Ivan Marchenko, not Demanyuk. And they had to release him. And now they can't live with it. They couldn't live with Jim Trafficant, having beaten him in 1983. I was a walking symbol of defiance. And now they have this man in Germany. And if someone doesn't look into this,
get him, Jimmy.
The American people should be ashamed of themselves.
Fuck yeah.
When you allow one American to be violated, you threaten the freedoms of every American. And I can't understand this, why no one in Congress is raising their voice.
This is really firing me up, man. When you allow one fucking person to be done dirty, you jeopardize the whole ball of wax. You could just feel it. This guy was for real.
And the reason is very simple. And this may be you don't want to hear. I don't know. And I certainly don't want to hurt you on your show.
Name him, Jimmy. Name him.
But I believe that Israel has a powerful stranglehold on the American government. They control both members of the House and the Senate. They have us involved in wars of which we have little or no interest. Our children are coming back in body bags. Our nation is bankrupt over these wars. And if you open your mouth, you get targeted. And if they don't beat you at the poll, they'll put you in prison.
All right, two quick things. One is the Israelis released Demanyuk back to the United States, right?
The Israeli Supreme Court, and I give them credit.
Give them credit.
I give them credit, big time.
All right, the second thing is Israel is a democracy and is our ally.
Yes,
right?
they are.
So you have no...
And they should be our ally. They are our friend over in that troubled part of the world.
So explain to me what you see as, why you target or why you have a grudge against the Israelis.
The grudge is not necessarily a grudge. It's an objective assessment that no one will have the courage to speak about. They're controlling much of our foreign policy. They're influencing much of our domestic policy. Wolfowitz, as Undersecretary of Defense, manipulated President Bush #2 back into Iraq. They pushed definitely to try and get Bush before he left to move into Iran. We're conducting an expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it. They control much of the media, they control much of the commerce of the country, and they control powerfully both bodies of the Congress. They own the Congress.
Are you an anti-Semite?
No, I'm not. That's exactly
on.
what they're going to say, and I expect that. What I am is an American. You see, I think America comes first, and we have a one-sided foreign policy in the Mideast, and we've alienated Arabs who have no way of fighting. So what they've done, and I predicted this on the House floor, is they would export violence to America, and they have. They have no other way to fight. I think President Obama knows this. I think he sees this. I think he wants to do something. I think his hands are tied. And I think he's dancing between the raindrops, trying to figure how I can politically machinate some scenario to mitigate these problems. Greta, I'm saying this. America is in danger if America doesn't take back the government without foreign interference.
How about that, boys? How about that, boys? Jimmy naming them. Now, this fucking sickening Hannity who I used to watch. I used to love Hannity because I was a faggot-ass, know-nothing motherfucker who thought that Israel was our ally, and I loved the fact that we were going to kill Arabs because I was pissed about 9/11, and some Arab guy online red-pilled the fuck out of me in 2008, and I've been down the rabbit hole ever since. Hannity, this sickening motherfucker, Trafficant fucking straightened his ass out too. Let's check it out.
Certainly I support Israel.
And earlier this month,
and it's sickening how Hannity tries to paint him as an anti-Semite. With his little squeaky voice, Hannity. I'd like to fucking drown that faggot.
Unpredictable James Traficant was released from a Minnesota prison. Now, the former Ohio congressman served a 7-year prison sentence for bribery and racketeering, but he is back out, and tonight he makes his return to the show. And joining us now is former Congressman James Traficant. Congressman, 7 years in prison. That's not a fun experience. Welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me back. From what I understand, after 7 years, your program has gotten much stronger, so I feel honored to be here tonight.
Well, all right. Thank you.
Honored to be anywhere. I'm glad. Hey, Sean, I'm glad to be anywhere.
Well, I believe that. You actually said that you said this to me in an interview, that you thought you would die in prison. Well, you don't look much different than you did 7 years ago.
Well, thank you. Would you expect me to be wearing prison stripes or something? No, what I said and what I meant was, I believe from the length of the sentence that I received, I think they were hoping that it was a death sentence, that I wouldn't come back and be looking a camera in the eye just like this on a very popular show like yours. So I didn't mean that I felt I was going to be killed, although I was in some situations that were tentative at times.
Well, I can believe that, and I'm sure nobody wants to go to prison. Why don't you, for people that don't know, I mean, here you're one of the most controversial congressmen, powerful congressmen in Washington, D.C., known for fiery...
Don't call me names. Don't call me names.
All right. They're known for fiery speeches on the House floor, and then your life changes. Then you're sent off to jail for 7 years. What was your day like, your average day like in prison, and, you know, what was it like psychologically for you?
Sean, I really don't want to go back and revisit those experiences, but let me tell you this. I forfeited the future life to make sure that I survived. I'm mad as hell. There's no doubt about it. And I'm looking to get back at the Justice Department and the Internal Revenue Service, and I predict before it's over that I will. I want to get them right by the short hairs. That's how mad I am.
Marge, that's awesome. That's fucking awesome, Marge Talika. I bought his book, but I don't have his signature like you do. I'm jealous.
All right, now, so you are going to try and prove your innocence, say you were wrongly convicted.
I don't need to prove I'm innocent. I don't need to prove I'm innocent. Okay. I believe there's enough happening now with this fella, Mr. Okolo, over in Nigeria.
Oh, now you're just rubbing it in.
The Nigerian government said my life was ruined because it wouldn't perjure myself for the Justice Department against trafficking. Now, all of these revelations are coming forward. You stay tuned. You're going to see them, and you're going to be surprised before it's over.
All right, I'm going to stay tuned. We're going to watch it. But let me go back to this other question, then we'll move forward. What was your life like on a daily basis when you go from being a powerful congressman to then ending up in a daily routine in jail? What was that like for you?
I was just like any other inmate, any other convict, and I did what I had to do to survive. And while you brought that up, I want to say hello to Dre Maddox, Freddie McKnight, and a bunch of young guys up there in Rochester. And I believe our country's so screwed up. Nelson Mandela said, Sean, if you really want to see the true character of a nation, you've got to go through their prisons. And boy, I have.
Are you going to run for office again?
I'm not sure yet. I'm looking at it. One way I can get back at the Justice Department, the IRS, is to be a sitting member of Congress, and I may. I have to look at it. I have no money. I don't expect to raise any money. I never did raise money. I was never supported by any political party, nor the newspaper, so I'd have to run against everybody.
Well, then I wouldn't surprise
you. And I just may do that.
I bet there's probably a few nervous congressmen in your district right now, or in and around your area in Youngstown. Congressman, you said something in an interview with our own Greta Van Susteren. You and I got into this on my radio show.
He's not an anti-Semite.
I'm shocked, frankly disappointed.
Oh, fuck you.
And these remarks sound like the conspiratorial, anti-Semitic remarks of people that we have heard from over the years. And what you said was, quote, talking about Israel and quote, Jewish people, they're controlling much of our foreign policy, they're influencing much of our domestic policy. What do you mean by that? Because that sounds to me like a
what does
bizarre
it sound
conspiracy
like?
theory. Why would you say something like that when it's just, first of all, patently untrue?
Oh, come on, man.
Number one, I served in Congress for 17 years. I've seen members question bills and votes on how does Israel feel about this. I must have heard that every time there was a significant vote. Here's what I'm saying. I'm not an enemy of Israel. America supports Israel, and we should. They're a free nation. They're our friends amidst a cluster of dictators and monarchs. So certainly I support Israel. But Israel, through its lobby, has manifested so much power over the United States Congress that we're embroiled in wars that I don't believe we should be. Our kids are coming back in body bags. And in the long run, this Israeli lobby is going to hurt Israel. So as soon as you mention Israel, someone claims you're an anti-Semite. The truth of the matter is, I'm pro-American, Sean, and I don't like, hear me. I don't like what's happening in America today.
All right, that's fair.
Our kids are coming back in body bags.
Wait a minute, but you're
we're
saying,
bankrupt, completely broke.
But you're suggesting here that we're fighting wars on behalf of Israel. But you just mentioned the 9/11 attacks.
I think a lot of that has been influenced
Hear me
by
now,
Israel.
Congressman. We're not fighting the war. We didn't fight the war in Iraq. We're not fighting in Afghanistan for Israel. We're fighting because this country was attacked, because the 9/11 Commission report said there's a group of enemies against us that are fighting a war against us, and we're not at war with them. So we're fighting them because they killed 3,000 plus Americans. That's why we're fighting. It has nothing to do with Israel.
All right, let me respond to that. We're in a situation where the commission come out and they discuss the attack on America. There's no doubt about it. But our policies in the Mideast have been so one-sided and subjective. Without objectivity, we've created so many enemies, the only way they can strike back is we've imported the terrorists from those actions.
Wait a minute.
So if you question it, you're saying you're an anti-Semite.
No, that's not what you did. That's not what you said. You said they're controlling our foreign policy. They're controlling our domestic policy.
Yes, and I believe they are.
Hear me now.
I believe they control the Senate and the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
That's insane.
And they're controlling our foreign policy.
Congressman, that's conspiratorial nutjob stuff.
No,
listen,
wait a minute. Conspiracy.
Are we supposed to be friends with Syria? Are we supposed to be friends with Iran? Were we supposed to be friends with Saddam Hussein? Hezbollah, Hamas?
Hold it, Sean.
Well, you said we're not.
Sean,
we're only friends with Israel.
Ratings. I know you need ratings, but just hold it. I'm not saying we should be friends over there with anybody. I'm saying we should be objective. We have developed serious enemies from a one-sided policy. And yes, I believe Israel, through their lobby, has manifested total power of the Congress of the United States.
Power.
And my concern is the taxpayers and the citizens of the United States should control their government, not a foreign entity.
To suggest, as you're doing here tonight, that they control our Congress, that, quote, they are influencing and the sole control of influencing of our domestic policy, is an absurdity. It sounds like you are a kook.
Sean, I'm not suggesting it.
Yep.
I'm telling it. Yes, I believe they manifest a great power over America. Let me also say, in the last 4 years, there are 2 separate incidents of AIPAC spying on America. We even conducted a search warrant on AIPAC headquarters. Now, I don't like what's going on here. All I'm telling you is, I'm concerned about America. You and I might disagree. I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm not against Israel. And if Israel's attacked, I'm the first one to want to support them. But what I'm saying to you is this power that's being manifest on our Congress is going to backfire and it's going to end up in the long run hurting Israel, because the American people are getting about fed up with this government.
One last shot at this. Will you back down from, quote, they are controlling much, meaning the Israelis, they are controlling much of our foreign policy. Will you back off that statement?
No.
No, I don't.
All right, then we disagree. Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Good to be on your show.
Wow. How about that, people? How the fuck about that? That's my man, Jim Trafficking. And Marge, you got me jealous. That's not right. All right, listen, guys. Let's show in the chat for a second. I got to address this race question because I've been thinking about it. All right, let me tell you a quick little story. When I was 9 years old, my mom put me into a boarding school in another state. It was an all-boys boarding school. It was 98% black. Probably, maybe more. So if there's 100 people, out of every 100 people, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 5 kids were white. Day one, when my mom drove off and left. Remember, I'm sleeping in dormitories 30 deep. There's 30 boys in one dormitory. We got in line for breakfast. We marched over to eat fucking breakfast. It was very regimented, strict rules and all that shit. Day one, my mom pulls off. I put all my shit in a locker. I go out on the playground, and I went all the way to the back of the playground, which was a mistake. It was a big playground. Here I am, just showed up. I saw 4 black kids playing. I said, hey, you guys want to play with me? And they said, what, cracker? We're going to fuck you up is what we're going to do. And they beat the fucking living shit out of me. 4th grade, 9 years old. Okay, 4th grade was just about to start. They were kicking me, dragging me by my hair, calling me all kind of shit. I was like, what the fuck is this? I went to that school for 4 years. All right? 4 years. It took me a couple of fucking years, really, to have the heart to start swinging back. It was brutal. It was brutal. They robbed me in my face. They were my friends, but then as soon as other blacks came around, they fucking turned on me. They were never, not any one of them, ever make any good friends with any black people in that school in 4 years. And it's just like prison because the white people were cowards, including myself, until I started swinging back. Because you're outnumbered, it's scary, and the white people would rather back down. I finally got kicked out of the school in 7th grade, after 7th grade. And I moved back to Jersey. We moved to another city. And I came out of here with the fucking most horrible hate in my heart. I'm going to be real with you. I fucking had so much hatred. I was the biggest racist in the fucking world. I went in there with a pure heart, wondering why people even said the N-word. And when I came out, I wanted to literally kill every motherfucking black person in the world. With that hate, I carried this burden for a long, long time. A long time. Until I realized that hate only hurts the one that harbors it. Now I had to think about, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to deal with this? Because the hate that I was harboring ate me up. It didn't hurt any of the ones that I hated, but it ate me up. And so I decided that I need to drop this hate. I can't live like this. I can't be this fucking hateful. And I dealt with my shit. I put it behind me. And these last bunch of years, now they're whipping this race shit up again. I'm like, I already dealt with this. Now you're a racist. You're this and you're that. And I'm like, they don't understand. These people have never lived with black people. That's why they say, oh, we love black people, because these fucking liberals don't live with black people. And now I can feel this shit boiling up again. And it's not the way to go. This hatred is not the way to go. I know that because I'm 46 years old now. I'm a little more, I have a little more perspective. All right? Diversity does breed hatred. We should be separate. I think that we should. We'd both be better off, both races. But let me tell you something. Even with that, I recognize that this GDL movement is more important than my fucking hatred. That these Jewish people are manipulating us both to fight. They want us to fight. They want us to kill each other. They want a race war. That kind of division is just destructive. So I know that the right way to go would be to work with black people. Doesn't matter what I feel, and it doesn't matter what they feel about me. There could be black people in this movement that hate my fucking guts as a white person. I don't give a fuck. If you're willing to work with me, I could hate you, which I really don't anymore. You could hate me, but we can work together for this goal. And then when we're separate from each other, when we're in the group, we don't talk about race. That should be the fucking rule. If you ask me, because I'm a fucking expert on this shit. I've lived it. Okay? When we're in the GDL, race shouldn't be talked about. It's secondary. So in light of that, I want to start another channel that deals with race only. Okay? So that we can have a place to vent. Black people can start their channels. I'll start my channel. But it's a release valve so we can release the pressure that boils up. I see it in the chat. I see the arguments. They're starting, you know, and that causes division, and that destroys a movement before it even starts, guys. So I'm willing to work with black people for this higher purpose. And if I'm willing to do it, if a guy who's gone through what I've gone through is willing to do it, then you can too. Okay? That's my idea. Now, just to speak a little bit about how I felt when I came out of that school. At that time, popping and breakdancing were the shit. Everybody was popping and breakdancing, doing all this shit. When I came out of that school, I moved to a different city. All the white people I met, they carried their cardboard around with them, and they would put the cardboard down and breakdance and listen to black music. And I'm like, what the fuck? And with this hate in my heart, I fucking hated them more. The white people who tried to act black. Oh, I fucking hated them more. Because they didn't understand, because they lived in an all-white neighborhood. They didn't understand what black people thought of them and what black people would do to them. Now, I understand, hashtag not all. It's not everybody. This guy Damon in chat seems to be a cool-ass dude. I don't give a fuck. I don't hate you, Damon. But I'm hip. You know, look, I'll put it this way. It's not my job to see what snakes are poisonous and which aren't. You know? I just avoid all snakes because a mistake could cost me my life. A misidentification could cost me my life. Okay? I'm subscribed to Colin Flaherty. I have been for years. And the black on white violence in this country is fucking out of control. There's a literal war going on in the streets, and white people aren't aware of it. We are being beaten and fucking slaughtered, set on fucking fire, raped, murdered, every fucking thing you can think of. And it fucking fires me up. I fucking hate it. Okay? What my point is because of these feelings, we should separate it. We gotta keep them separated because it's too much heat. It's too much. I think this movement, the GDL, is way more important than any of my feelings on race. I can put that to the side and work with people. But at the same time, if I meet a black person, I'm honest with them. I tell them this story. I let them know where I come from so they know where I stand. And that's the best policy because time and time again, black people have told me, it was like, yo, I mean, not for nothing, but I'm glad you told me that because you'd rather know up front how a person feels than to have them secretly harbor these feelings against you. And I'm willing to judge every man on his own merits, but I keep my distance at first. I don't trust. Because of what I've been through, I don't fucking trust. I just don't. You're going to have to go above and beyond. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. You're going to have to really prove yourself to me. And if the black person thinks the same about me because of what they've been through, that they don't trust me, I understand. And I'm not mad at you. So that's the way it should be, in my opinion. White people and black people have a hard time getting along. Very, very hard time getting along. So white people that try to act black, number one, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I don't like it. But I also understand, too. I have a little sympathy because white people who've grown up in white neighborhoods don't know anything about blacks. And in this Jewish-run media, they've been told that rap is great. And they've been force-fed this garbage, this shit music, this fucking degrading, vile shit. And they think it's good. And they think it's cool to emulate the worst fucking aspects of a human being. Is there shit white music that's degrading and vile? Yes, absolutely. But it's not being pushed by the Jewish media like this is. So if you're a white boy in the GDL and you emulate that type of music, you got to understand that you've been convinced to do that by the Jews. The same Jews you say you're against, but yet you let them fucking turn you into something you're not. So, that said, I'm aware that black people themselves are victims of the Jews. That's why we got to get together. You see this? The hip-hop nation, newest slave. This talks about how the Jews took over the rap music and have degraded black people, because black people weren't always like they are now. Black people, believe it or not, had a lower rate of, child out of wedlock, all that shit, lower crime rates. Back in the 40s and the 50s, they dressed nice, they kept themselves proper, they had respect. Not everybody. There's never such a thing as never or always. There is no never or always. But look at them today. In the 60s, they instituted this welfare and corrupted their souls. This music. Do you remember when black people used to make great music? I do. I used to listen to it. I still listen to it. Earth, Wind, and Fire is the shit. I love it. I love the old black music. But the shit today is garbage, and it's corrupting their souls. And, much to my chagrin, they're corrupting my people now, too. And it's fucked up. White people and black people need to realize that we got a common enemy. And we're on the verge of just fucking killing each other. We need to step back from the precipice and think. Let's fucking think. Because emotions will drive you like an animal to react and not think. So we need to turn down the fucking volume a little bit. Back up a little from the edge and think. We need to work together. We have to work together. No matter what, black people are my fucking countrymen. And if somebody came in this country to attack us, I would fight side by side with my brothers and sisters in the black community, and we would kick the fucking shit out of whoever's trying to fuck with us. See, America's like a big dysfunctional family where inside the family there's all this fighting going on. Everybody hates this, and the sister hates the brother hates the father, and the father hates the mother. And there's all this fighting. But let somebody from outside the family fuck with us, and boom, we all bond together and take care of business. And then when the outside threat is gone, we go back to fighting. That's the way America is. Now, I was 29 years old when 9/11 happened. Okay? 9/11 gave a spirit in the days and weeks after 9/11. When I saw a brother on the street, it wasn't like, who's this motherfucker? He wasn't looking at me like, this fucking cracker. It was like, yeah, brother. There was a look like, we got this, we got a common enemy. We're going to fuck shit up. There was this spirit in this country of togetherness like I've never felt before. It was amazing. Flags flying everywhere, USA and all that shit. It was just amazing. And now it's degraded and degraded and degraded to the point where blacks and whites are about to fucking literally kill each other. And it's all by the same tribe. They're loving it. They're loving it when whites and blacks want to fight each other. So if I start a pro-white channel, I don't want to hear nigger this and nigger that on my channel. I don't want to hear, chicken and fucking watermelon and biscuit eating and all. I don't want to hear that. I don't want it. If I was allowed to have a channel where I could say anything I want, I'm still going to keep it on the up and up. Because I don't want to jeopardize that higher purpose, which is the GDL. All right? So, think about it, people. When we're in the GDL, we should drop this race stuff. It's not wise. Now you guys know where I come from. I feel like I should get that stuff out in the open and let you know. All right, now let me show you something else. I got you. Not only do we have this, look at this caricature. Who's that look like? Billions of dollars they're making off of black people. Degrading their people, making them into animals. Alright? Into animals when they were once decent people. Okay? They're making white people into animals. And it's not right. Let me show you something else I got. I'm glad you guys are still here because this type of shit needs to be talked about. Alright? Number 1. Jews selling blacks. It's a whole book, albeit a little thin. It's a whole book filled with advertisements. Oh, there's my $2 bill. Holla! Filled with advertisements from Jews. What's that say? By permission of Charles Lining, Esquire, Ordinary Charleston District, Thomas Esquire decided will be sold by Aaron Lopez. Aaron Lopez was the biggest Jewish slave ship owner in the United States, out of Rhode Island, out of Newport, Rhode Island. This book is just filled of advertisements all about Jews selling blacks. So I don't want to fucking hear it, Jews, that it's all white people and all the white people are racist, when only about 2% of white people own slaves. 40% of Jews own slaves, okay? I'm getting red-pilled. I'm learning this shit. Alright? I'm learning not to just fucking hate, but to understand. Okay? We need to think. We can't be fucking stupid. So this right here, put out by the Nation of Islam, shows all these advertisements of Jews selling blacks and advertisements of black people. I lost my slave. Go find him. Here's a couple bucks. Go find my N-word. Yo, where's my knuckle? Not right. Again, secret relationship between blacks and Jews. Nation of Islam talks about the Jewish role in the enslavement of the African. Getting a little thicker. This I want to understand. I want to fucking know. So I'm armed with information if there are some decent black people that want to work with me. I think if we get all our true feelings out in the air, then that's right, red-pilled. If we get our true feelings out in the air and talk about how we really feel and don't hold anything back, it's therapeutic. I feel even better right now being able to tell you guys this. And thank you for hanging out. The second one. Secret relationship between blacks and Jews. How they took control of the black American economy. You guys heard about Black Wall Street? I don't know anything about it, but black people always talk about Black Wall Street. And it sounds like when they used to tell me, man, they be bringing these drugs in our hood. And I'm like, whatever. And then I read this fucking book by Gary Webb, and sure enough, they're right. So, maybe there's something to Black Wall Street. I'm gonna learn. Fucking a lot thicker, this book. Number 3. Secret relationship between blacks and Jews. The Leo Frank case. Now, this ties back into the ADL. The ADL, this was a Jewish guy who killed a 13-year-old white girl by the name of Mary Fagan. Which, that's another book. It's called The Murder of Little Mary Fagan. And that's online as a free PDF. I'm going to read that too, ADL. You hear me, ADL? We ain't taking this fucking division and fucking hatred anymore. We're not doing it. We're turning on you, ADL. We're going to take all our hate for each other and fucking aim it at you, motherfucker. God damn it, I'm fucking sick of this shit. This guy killed a white girl, and he tried to blame it on a black guy. But an all-white jury and an all-white, the judge was white, everybody was white. They exonerated the black guy, and they said the Jew was guilty. Somehow, he ended up getting released, and the white boys got a hold of him and lynched that motherfucker. So back in the day, when the white boys heard of a Jew killing a white man or a white girl or a black person, white people used to stick up for each other and they hung motherfuckers. Right or wrong, some people got it wrong. There's a dark history there too. But in this case, it was justified. What's wrong with white people today? Why are we so fucking cowardly? I don't like it. We need to stand up for ourselves because nobody's gone to. The way we act, we deserve all this fucking attacks on us because we're fucking soft as puppy shit. So, this tells the whole story. The ADL was formed after this attack, after the lynching on this Jewish guy, in defense of Jewish people. There's more to the ADL's formation, as is being talked about in the book I'm reading. But that's part of the story too. Now, in the 90s, there was a guy by the name of Tony Martin, black guy. He taught at Wellesley College. It was an all-girls college, and he was talking about the slave trade. And everything was great when he was talking about white people being the oppressors and white people owning the slaves and blah, blah, blah. But as soon as he mentioned the Jewish involvement, Oh, he faced an onslaught of Jewish hatred and attacks on him. And this is his story. It's a little thin, but this is his story of how he was attacked and tortured. There he is, right there, Kid and Play. It was the 90s. We could forgive a box top, right? All right, we can let him slide on that. So, Dispatches, it's Dispatches. That's the British version of Dispatches from the Wellesley battlefront. So, that just shows anybody who might be a detractor to me and say, oh, you're a racist, out of this and that. I've got these books because I want to understand. I want to be able to fucking not hate. I want to work together with black people. I'm not naive, though. I know that most likely it's a hard sell for 99% of them. And they're going to hate me anyway. And most of them don't know the difference between a Jew or a white person anyway. All right? But there are some red-pilled black people. The black Israelites, Damon we got in the chat. I don't know how many black people we've got in the chat or in the GDL. But I'm willing to work with you guys. Black people that understand the difference between Jews and whites, we don't need everybody. We don't need every white person. We don't need every black person. But in the interest of keeping the GDL together, it's important that we discuss these things. And I'm going to provide a forum for that. Hopefully, I'll start that channel within a week or two where we can talk about these things. But when we're here in the GDL, we got to keep it about the Jewish question. We can talk a little bit about race, but we don't want to get caught up in this back and forth because it's going to drive a wedge between us and even between white people, because there are white people that disagree on the methods and tactics and all that shit. So, let me check this chat. Thank you, Andrew Simpson. This is real stuff. Damn right it is, Herman. I speak from the heart, all right? Whatever faults I have, I'm honest, I'm faithful, I'm loyal, and you can count on me to tell you the truth. I don't sugarcoat shit. I don't go out of my way to be mean. I don't go out of my way to be racist or hateful, but I think that what we're doing is important, and it's worthwhile for us being honest and upfront with each other. There's this thing in the white, and within whites, very intelligent. I agree completely on the race. Thanks, Mile High. Not enough GDL people do understand this. That's why I want to start talking about it, but elsewhere, so we can keep it separated so we don't fracture, you know? Where'd I get my books? Ironically, I bought them all on Amazon. The Jewish-run Amazon. Although I'm looking to find a different place. But everywhere you go, it's owned and controlled by Jews, most likely, so I might as well just go to fucking Amazon. So, yeah, that's how I feel. Being honest is massive. I don't know. What do you guys think? Make a video. Let us know how you feel. I get hate from whites from my 1488 views. It's not hate. They don't want to hear it. It's because they've been hypnotized by the Talmud vision. They've been hypnotized by Hollywood. They've been hypnotized by the music industry. And whites overwhelmingly have this sense of they're evil. They're racist. They enslaved and killed blacks. White people ended slavery. No other country in the history of the earth ended slavery, except for white people. Sure, we perpetuated it for a while. But Jews were in slavery. They enslaved whites. Back in the Barbary Coast days, Jews were enslaved. I could pull up shit from ancient Rome where Jews were enslaving people then. They're still enslaving people today, except they do it with financial means and otherwise. They don't physically restrain and own people. They own people in a different manner now. One in which they don't have to feed the slave. Slave has to feed itself, but they still get to suck the blood out of them. So, I agree, though, that I'm not naive. This is a tough sell for most black people. It's a tough sell for most white people. But I'm willing to try. We gotta try. Our back's up against the wall. This country is tearing apart at the seams between black versus white, Republican versus Democrat, man versus woman, gay versus straight, the Giants versus the fucking Eagles. I don't know. There's all kind of division in this country. And a wedge gets driven, and they keep pounding the wedge, so we completely fracture. On a completely different note, I bought this too. I don't know why. Maybe I'll get to it. It's a thick-ass book. But it's down on my list. This one is about the Jacobins, you know, the French Revolution. Memoirs, the anti-Christian conspiracy, where the Illuminati was a real thing. It's not just some bullshit. It was created by Lord Rothschild, got Adam Weishaupt to found it and to run it. And its goal was to destroy religion, to destroy monarchy, and then to destroy the people and divide them so they can take it over. All these revolutions that have been happening, from the French Revolution to the Bolshevik Revolution to what's happening to us today, is all part of the same movement. And people can call me crazy. I don't care. I know what the fuck is going on. That's why it makes me want to work with black people, because I know that their plan is to divide us and to make us fucking want to hate and kill each other so they can swoop in and pick up all the pieces after we've destroyed everything. Look at the Civil War. 600,000 plus Americans died. So, there's a lot we should think about. Guys, I appreciate you guys giving me an ear. Tomorrow I'm going to get into, let's see, what do we got tomorrow? That's the protocols right there. I was checking that out. Colluding with terrorists. Oh, how perfect. It's about race. Cool. So, we'll get to learn a little bit more about these divisions that are put into us. They want us to bleed out, is definitely true. But they also want white people to hate each other. They want white people to feel like they're no good and they're guilty of this and that. Like I said, we ended the fucking slave trade. White people are valuable to this nation and to the world. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think black people want to live in a country where white people aren't the majority. Because guess what? It's going to turn into a third world. We see plenty of countries that aren't white majority. And with the exception of the Asian countries, they're all shitholes. Black people can say what they want, but they won't damn leave this country, this racist-ass country where black people are trying to fight to get in here. They know. They know. But they've been taught to be hateful. They've been taught, black people, to want revenge. And that's what they want. And we're going to end up just like South Africa is going through today, with this vengeful mindset and destruction and hatred and murder on the mind. Once they get a hold of your emotions, they control you. You have to use your intellect and rise above. Which brings me to my last book. Let's see, where'd it go? Just a minute. Oh, fuck, I just found a couple more. I'm a nerd, I can't help it. Ludwig von Mises, I didn't really read it yet, but it's about the rise of the total state and total war. I've gone past my libertarian stage, though, since I bought this book. But it might be a good read. This is one that I got from watching Ernst Zundel, The Seventh Million, the Israelis and the Holocaust. The 7th million is a reference to the first million people that started Israel. So there are a lot of candid admissions in this book, which was written by a Jew, And there are a lot of things that are negative about Jews that are in this book that are at least admitted to. That's another separate book. This is a book that changed my fucking life. I was down and out about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, at the lowest point in my life. And I went up in the attic. I was in my 40s. I had to go back living with my mother. I'm so embarrassed to admit that, because I was on my own from 17 on. My mom kicked me out of the house at 17. And I took care of myself until I was about 41, 42. And shit fell apart for me. And I needed a new outlook because I was in the pits, and I would sit there in the tub at night soaking for hours at a time, just so fucking depressed. Luckily, I never went for any of those pharmaceuticals. I just dealt with it. This right here is the story about Plato. Plato wrote about Socrates and how they put him to death. Then there was Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. I don't know if you guys know what Stoicism is, but it's an ancient philosophy. And this philosophy changed my whole fucking life. I couldn't believe it. I thought this fucking shit would suck. I'm like, I guess I'll read it, you know what I mean? But the basic philosophy is this. No one can make you angry. Yes, I've read Mein Kampf. I haven't finished the second volume yet. Nobody can make you angry but you. Now that sounds crazy, because in this day and age, oh, I'm triggered. This triggered me, that triggered me. No, you allowed yourself to be triggered is the difference. Somebody can say whatever they want. I cannot control what other people do or what other people say. All I can control is how I react to it. Now, when someone says or does something you don't like, or you're stuck in traffic, or whatever is triggering you, you have an option. I didn't realize I would just go running into a rage. I had such a bad temper, such a fucking bad temper, that I would just rush into a rage and not think. And then, when you rush into a rage, the person that made you angry is the one that's controlling you now. And so, I thought, wow, so somebody can just control me just by saying something to trigger me, and now I react in a Pavlovian manner where I'm an animal now. I'm not thinking. I'm not a thinking person. It's up to me whether I get angry or not. And I've read a lot of this. There's a lot of shit in here that makes you think, wow. And something clicked with it. It just clicked with me. And it changed my whole fucking life. And I thank it to this day. So, thanks. Thanks, Marge. I'm not perfect, nor will I ever be, but I work on it every day. And I try to keep a mental note of the times where I've lost my cool versus times where I've kept my cool. And I can see over the years that I have come a long, long way. Now, at first, it's tough. You're not going to just master this in a day. You got to try to, okay, let me keep my cool. Let me think about this. And then you're going to lose your cool. You're going to keep losing your cool at first. But at the end of a week, you'll say, well, I lost my cool fewer times this week than I did last week. And then eventually you get to this stoic mindset where literally nothing can fucking affect you unless you let it. Unless you let it. So there is no excuses about, well, I flipped out because they made me flip out. Or this guy did that and rah. No. It's up to you. Not saying you should never get angry. You should let your anger motivate you, which is what I'm doing by reading these books online. So, anyway, you guys are having a blast with the chat there. You guys are going off. All I say is, that shit's moving. I appreciate it. And I held your guys' attention this long, so it couldn't be too bad. Let's see. I keep advocating for men to return to Stoicism. I think at some point Stoicism goes a little too far, but all in all, I love it. It's very profound. Epictetus was a slave. Speaking of slavery. Thanks, bad guy. Epictetus was a slave whose master beat him so badly that he had a limp for life. And he was in a desperate way. He needed to find a new way. And Stoicism, he found Stoicism, and it stuck with him. And he became one of the best Stoic teachers of all time. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome, was the last Stoic, the last great Stoic in history. And this here, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, it's called, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, was a diary he kept, and he would write down everything that he was struggling with and how he conquered it. It's amazing. It's just amazing. That book, I'll never get rid of that book. It changed my fucking life. It was so accidental that I found it. There was a guy who was a family friend years and years ago, and he stayed at the place for a while. This was like back in the 80s, and he somehow left his books in our attic. And I found my way. I had to refloor the attic. I did all by myself. I refloored the whole fucking attic just to get my shit up there. And I found these books, and this one was like finding the fountain of youth. It was like finding a pile of gold. It was better than gold because it gave me a new outlook on everything. This is how I'm better equipped to deal with the subject of race. All that anger and rage that I had, that I explained to you guys, I know how to deal with it now. And I know how to use it as an asset. What's more, it's not that I just tamp it down and I swallow hard and I just swallow it down. No. I know how to get my rage out. I know how to hit a heavy bag and fucking go somewhere and beat the fuck out of a bag or run or fucking push-ups, sit-ups, lifting weights, whatever you got to do to let that poison out of you, because if you don't, it's going to eat you alive. And it did to me for many, many years. And what's more is when you don't let your anger out, it will come out at the wrong times on the wrong people. And you will hurt people that you love. Thanks. That's good. I'm glad I made an impact on you guys. Thanks, Brian. It's from the heart. It's true. I'm just as real as I can be. So let your anger motivate you. Get rid of it. And guys, anybody who's on those antidepressant pills, I'm sorry, you've been lied to. It's not gonna. You're gonna go 10 years and you're gonna be on the pills, and you'll still have never dealt with the thing that made you angry. So in my case, it was the rage against my mother for putting me in that school. It was the rage against black people for abusing me when I was in that school. It was the rage and anger at this whole fucking world. And I learned how to deal with it. And instead of doing it the easy way, people think you can take a magic pill. It doesn't work. My mother tried that method, and she's fucking loony now. She destroyed our entire family. That's another thing. But I learned how to deal with these things. That's the best way. The hardest things to do are generally the best things to do. And the best thing to do is to turn around and face that thing that you're running from. Whatever that thing may be. You guys heard what it is in my case. Whatever is your specific case, you gotta have the strength to turn and face it, accept it, stop blaming yourself, and try to move on. And you're gonna have setbacks. It's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be easy. But you just keep working at it, and you never give up. Just keep working and working and working. So hopefully, I'm gonna start a pro-white channel, and I want to keep it separate from the GDL, because I want the GDL to do well. We have a common enemy. Alright guys, I think I've said enough. Thank you again. Don't forget, subscribe, click the bell, and that's how we'll do it. Every night I'm going to get on here and post something. So, ta-ta for now. Thanks guys. I love you all.